Well, it's the next day when I'm filming this. Michigan has beat Hawaii 56-10. This was pretty much, the score doesn't really do it justice how dominant this win was. From the very first play, Michigan imposed their will. We could do whatever we wanted on offense, whatever we wanted on defense. Scored touchdowns on our first two drives and 2 3-and-outs in a row. 56-10 was the final. We were up 42-0 at halftime. After halftime, we put in our backups, and they didn't play great, but whatever. Still scored more than them in the second half, even with our backups in. So Michigan wins, and it wasn't even close, 56-10. That's not the part. That's not really what I'm here to talk about, though. What I'm here to talk about is J.J. McCarthy. Undoubtedly, the starter. Not just for UConn next week, but for the rest of the season. He absolutely played a million times better than Cade McNamara did. And it wasn't even close. JJ went in there, 11 for 12 passing, 229 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he ran once, I think, for a good gain, I think a first down or so, like 19, 20 yards. He looked great. And the only reason he had one incompletion is because Ronnie Bell dropped the ball. J.J. McCarthy played a perfect game. He made accurate throws, just so accurate, such accurate throws. Couple of really deep passes. First one to Roman Wilson was great. That bullet in the end zone, that was later on in the game. That he played amazing. You could really tell that this Michigan offense had a fire lit under them when J.J. McCarthy was in there and he was playing. When Cade McNamara came in, he did come in for some plays. He didn't look good. He threw an interception, incomplete balls. He got sacked a few times. And it just seemed like this offense didn't have any drive when Cade was in the game. If that makes any sense. They just didn't seem like they wanted to be there. JJ was in, and we played great. Offense had fire lit under them. We imposed our will, did whatever we want to a very much inferior Hawaii team. But whenever we put Cade McNamara in the game, there was no cigar. It just wasn't going to happen with Cade under center. You could tell Cade was also very much frustrated with himself. He seemed to have celebrated, good plays that we had, or even when JJ did pretty well for himself, Cade looked like he was celebrating. He looked like a team guy. So, he still obviously got frustrated with himself, but I feel bad for Cade, but at the same time, he had his chance to win the starting job, and he's not the starter. And if you're wondering, well, how do you know? Jim Harbaugh in the press conference after the game said, yeah, we're starting JJ next week against Connecticut, and likely beyond. He didn't say the likely beyond part, but there's no reason to believe that we should be playing anybody else. So, after that, after JJ got some time, he came out pretty much after the third quarter, or a little bit into the third quarter. They put Cade in a little bit. Didn't really do anything with Cade. He threw a pick, got sacked a couple of times. We put in Davis Warren. This is a backup quarterback Now, I thought originally it was Alex Orji or maybe Alan Bowman. I don't even know if Alan Bowman is still at Michigan or not. But we put in Davis Warren, and he looked really good. He looked really good. He looked better than Cade. Did he look better than JJ? No, he didn't look. He didn't get enough playing time to even really compete with JJ. And even if he did, he wouldn't. No, it's not happening. But this is great. Davis Warren looks really good. We'll see how he does going forward. But yeah, JJ McCarthy absolutely should be the starter. When our first team defense was in, we were dominant, imposed our will, really didn't allow them very much. Hawaii. So once we put in our second team, our third team, fourth team, whatever it was, defense, they got a little bit more out of it. They did have a touchdown, and they had a field goal. And then a touchdown. So, but yeah, 42-0 at halftime, and then I think we outscored them 14-10 in the second half with our backups in. So, but Michigan looked really good, really poised, really dominant. And there was a rain delay. This game was delayed a whole hour. Was supposed to start at 8 o'clock Eastern. Didn't start till 9. Which was the latest start in Michigan football history. So the game really didn't end until past midnight, I believe. It was almost 1 a.m. by the time the game was over. And yeah, you just don't like to see that. They had to evacuate everyone out of the stadium. It just wasn't very fun. To start out, but they eventually got out there, were able to play a pretty clean game. Didn't seem like the wet ground really made a huge difference. Roman Wilson looked great. Cornelius Johnson got some stuff in there. You know, none of these receivers other than Roman Wilson look really good. Ronnie Bell had a touchdown pass. He didn't look too good at first, or a touchdown catch, I should say. He didn't look too good at first. He dropped a pass. Then he caught a pass and then fumbled the ball behind the line. And then it was like, Ronnie Bell. Like, I love Ronnie Bell, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that he's back. But he did redeem himself with a touchdown. Hopefully he can keep up with the team. I want to see him go places. I want to see him be, I was saying he was our best receiver. It looks like it's Roman Wilson, honestly. And, I kind of knew Roman Wilson would be, one of our top receivers. I didn't think he would be our top receiver with Ronnie Bell in there, but Roman Wilson was always higher rated than Ronnie Bell. But I do love Ronnie Bell. So he did redeem himself with the touchdown catch, which was great to see from him. Roman Wilson looked good. Receivers looked good. Blake Corum looked really good. Donovan Edwards got in there, looked pretty good, dominant. I want to see more of Donovan Edwards. I really want to see more of Donovan Edwards. Blake Corum is great, but I want to see Donovan Edwards too. I want him to be one of those guys that can just be like Hassan Haskins and just truck forward for first downs and not relying on speed to get around the edge like Blake Corum does. Because, Blake Corum's a tough guy, don't get me wrong, but he's small in comparison to even your average running back. He's only 5'8", like 200 pounds or so. He looks like he's bulkier than he was last year even, but he's still mostly relying on that speed to get around the edge. Hopefully, we get to see some more of Donovan Edwards. Sorry about the barking. Hopefully we get to see more of Donovan Edwards. Blake Corum looks great. Donovan Edwards looks good so far. And hopefully we can see more explosiveness out of this offense. We really didn't get to see much of it outside of the first half because we were up by so much by halftime that our team really didn't need to be out there. There's just no reason to have our first team offense out there all game long, or even our first team defense. Gotta rest those guys. You gotta put them in when we really need them because they are by far the best players on our team. And they played a lot of freshmen today. They didn't look. Some of them looked all right. Will Johnson looked really good. 5-star. I think he's a corner. He looked really good. Or linebacker. I think he's a corner. But I'm excited to see Will Johnson. More of him. He's still young. He's still a freshman, but a highly touted freshman, 5-star freshman. So hopefully he becomes like one of the integral parts of our defense in the coming years. Not this year, obviously. He's not going to be a starter this year, but maybe next year or the year after. I want to see more of Will Johnson. And Mike Sanders still looks pretty darn good out there too on defense. It's pretty much all the same guys from last week, just dominating. Really didn't make a ton of mistakes, just beating up on an inferior offensive line and offense in general. We didn't really force any turnovers. There was no turnovers in this game, and there really wasn't a lot of penalties either, which is good. I think we had one penalty last week against Colorado State and maybe 1 or 2 against Hawaii. We're keeping penalties to a minimum, so that's good to see. Hopefully we can keep that up, because there's been seasons where Michigan has had 10, 11, 12 penalties a game, and it's so frustrating to watch. It just kills your momentum. It kills your team in general. So hopefully they can keep up the good work when it comes to minimizing penalties. Obviously you're going to get them every once in a while. It's just kind of inevitable. But hopefully at some point, not hopefully at some point, what am I talking about? But hopefully they can keep that up throughout the whole season. Play UConn next week. I'm actually going to that game next Saturday, so expect some footage in the big house. I want to get a good shot of me walking into the stadium with a full crowd for the noon kickoff game. It's going to be starting early in the morning. My morning's going to start early because even though I live in Michigan, it's about a 2.5-hour drive, so it's not going to, we have to get up pretty early to get there on time because it is a noon kickoff here in the good old state of Michigan. So, yeah. My video on the Big Ten, that'll be out tomorrow. I've got one other video I gotta make, but I gotta get this video uploaded, so subscribe. If you want more college football videos, I'm gonna be making my next video for tomorrow is going to be about the rest of the Big Ten, how they looked, and yeah, I'm going to try and keep up with this every week. I got some things to say about the Big Ten this week, lots of comments I want to make. And man, when I make these videos, I don't script nothing. I just pick up a camera and start talking, and that's the way I like doing it. So it makes it real easy for me when I can think of things to say on the fly. So, and it's also just more fun that way. I'm currently watching Packers and Vikings. So yeah. Subscribe for more videos.